Imagine being told your future was being sold off, your dreams sacrificed, all to prop up someone else's. That's exactly what happened to me, and it ripped my family apart, showing me a harsh truth about love, loyalty, and what family truly means. If you'd asked me just 5 years ago, I would have painted a warm picture of my family, full of support and that tough love everyone talks about. But life had a different lesson in store for me, a brutal crash course in self-reliance and the real meaning of family expectations. It all started back in high school. Look, I was never the perfect student, but I worked my butt off to keep my grades up, joined clubs, did all the things you're supposed to do. My dream? College, a degree, a career, the whole package, right? But my parents? They weren't on the same page. Not even close. My mom, she's a high achiever, always pushing, always striving, and she was especially hard on me. My dad, he wasn't as vocal, but I knew he wouldn't coddle me either. Being the second child, there was this unspoken rule. I had to figure things out on my own. My older brother, Aaron, he was the golden boy. Smart, athletic, straight A's without even trying. I just couldn't compete with that. Senior year hit, and suddenly, college was the only thing anyone talked about. Aaron had already snagged an acceptance to a prestigious university, and my parents were practically beaming, ready to foot his tuition bill. But when I brought up applications or financial aid for myself, it was like pulling teeth. My mom would just wave me off. "You'll figure it out," she'd say, dismissively. "We'll focus on Aaron first. He needs it more." I had no idea what that even meant, but being the dutiful daughter, I didn't argue. I just buckled down, researching scholarships, working part-time gigs, saving every penny I could. My friends' parents were so involved in their kids' futures. Not so much. Then came that Saturday afternoon. I was in the kitchen, deep in homework, when my mom walked in. Her face was set, stern. She sat across from me and just dropped the bomb. "We decided to use your college fund to pay for Aaron's tuition." My blood ran cold. My stomach plummeted. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. "Wait, what?" I choked out. "You heard me," she replied, barely glancing up from her phone. "Aaron's got a better chance at a top-tier school. His future is more important." I just blinked, trying to process. "But that's my fund. You told me it was for me." She waved her hand again. "Emily, you don't need a top-tier school. You'll be fine. You're smart. You can make do with a state school or a community college. We can't afford both. Aaron's opportunities are bigger. He needs this." My hand was shaking. I felt utterly betrayed. But mostly I just felt invisible. "So what do you want me to do?" I managed, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know," my mom said, so casually it stung. "Figure it out. You always do." That night, I just stared at my ceiling. My parents had given away my college fund, my future, without a second thought. And they expected me to just figure it out. I didn't yell. I didn't protest. But something inside me snapped. This was my life, my future, and they were treating it like some footnote in Aaron's story. It wasn't fair. And I wasn't going to let it slide. So I did figure it out. I found scholarships. So many scholarships. I worked multiple jobs, barely sleeping, saving every single cent. I was absolutely determined to make it on my own, without a single dollar from my parents. I got accepted into a great college, purely on my own merit. I remember telling my parents, proudly. They were less than thrilled. Mom actually asked if I needed help with tuition, but I refused. I didn't need their charity. The next few years were brutal. I hustled through my studies, worked my way up in every part-time job, learned to budget like a pro. I had to grow up fast. But then came graduation day. Walking across that stage, my heart swelled with pride. I had done it, all of it, alone. But, of course, that wasn't the end of the story. A few months later, things took a strange turn. Aaron had graduated a few weeks before me, but he was having a much tougher time finding a job. His fancy college had cost a fortune, and while he'd had the best of everything, the real world didn't care how prestigious his degree was. He was drowning in student loans. I could see the frustration building in him. One day he called. "Hey, Em," he said, his voice laced with a familiar whine. "I need help with some of my bills. Can you lend me a little money? You're doing better than me, right?" I just stared at my phone. Disbelief washed over me. This was the same guy who'd gotten my entire college fund. The same guy who never had to lift a finger in high school. And now he was asking me for help? I knew I should have said no. I knew I should have told him to figure it out, just like I had to. But something in me just broke. Maybe it was all those years of watching him get everything handed to him while I fought for every little bit. Maybe it was the crushing realization that he still expected me to bail him out. "I don't know if I can help you," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I've worked really hard to get here, and I'm barely keeping up with my own expenses." The pause. Then Aaron sighed. "It's not like you need the money. You've got your degree, you're doing fine." My heart started pounding again. The nerve. After everything, after all the sacrifices I'd made, he still thought I owed him something. I couldn't take it anymore. "Aaron," I said, my voice cold, sharp. "You've had everything handed to you on a silver platter. I've had to fight for everything, including my degree. And now you're asking me for help." He didn't respond right away. When he did, his voice was thick with irritation. "Don't get all high and mighty on me, Emily. I'm just asking for some help." That's when it hit me. He wasn't just entitled to my money, my support. He felt entitled to my success, too. But I wasn't done. This wasn't just about Aaron. It was about everything that had happened over the last few years. The way my parents had treated me, the way they never had my back when it truly mattered. And so, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this slide anymore. If they wanted a piece of my success, they were going to have to earn it. The next time I saw my parents, I was ready. It was a Saturday afternoon. They'd invited me over for lunch. I knew exactly what this was about. Aaron had probably vented his struggles again, and they were going to try to guilt-trip me into helping him. But this time, I wasn't just going to sit there and take it. I showed up with my mind made up. I'd just gotten a decent promotion at work, and I felt more confident than I had in years. I was done being the overlooked little sister, done being the easy option when someone needed help. I had worked for every single step of my success, and it was time they understood that. As I walked in, Mom was in the kitchen, fussing over the stove. Dad was at the table, flipping through a newspaper. Aaron was already there, with his usual smug expression, sipping coffee. "Emily, honey, good to see you," my mom greeted me, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I noticed she hadn't set a place for me. Just Aaron. I didn't say anything. I just pulled out a chair and sat down, making myself comfortable. They were all a little too quiet. I could feel the tension building. Aaron was the first to break the silence. "So, about the money," he trailed off, not quite looking at me. My stomach tightened. Here was the moment I'd been dreading and preparing for. My mom chimed in quickly, eager to push things along. "Aaron's having some financial struggles, Emily. I know you're doing well now, so we were hoping—" She paused, giving me that look, like I was supposed to just do the right thing without question. "Maybe you could help him out a little, loan him some money or—" "I can't," I cut in, not waiting for her to finish. "I've got my own bills to pay, and I don't have extra funds lying around to bail out someone who's been given everything." Aaron looked genuinely surprised. My mom, though, her eyes narrowed. "What do you mean? You're not struggling, Emily. You have a good job, you're doing well. You could afford to help your brother out." I kept my voice steady, even though I could feel the anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "Mom, I worked my ass off for everything I have. I didn't get a free ride like Aaron. I didn't get my college fund handed to me. You never helped me figure it out when I needed it, but I did it. So no, I'm not going to hand over money just because you think I owe it to him." A long pause. My mom's face flushed with indignation. Aaron's eyes widened in disbelief. It was like they couldn't quite grasp that I wasn't just going to roll over. "But he's your brother," my mom snapped, her voice rising. "Family helps family. You've got a stable job now. Don't be so selfish." My dad, who'd been quiet, finally put down the newspaper. He gave me a look I couldn't quite read. "Emily, your mom's right. We're family. Aaron needs help, and you're doing well now. Don't you think it's time to give back?" That's when it truly hit me. Their logic wasn't about fairness. It wasn't about helping Aaron because he needed it. It was about guilt-tripping me into doing what they wanted because I was the successful one now. "I'm not giving back to someone who doesn't respect what I've worked for," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "If Aaron can't figure out his own finances after all these years of being handed everything, that's on him, not me. Not you. You've raised him to expect people to solve his problems for him, and I'm done playing along." Aaron looked like I'd slapped him. "So that's it? You're just going to turn your back on your family because you think you're better than us now?" I could feel my chest tightening. "I'm not better than you, Aaron. I'm just different. I don't expect anyone to do things for me. I never did. And you can't keep acting like I owe you anything." Mom jumped in, her voice trembling. "Emily, you've changed. You used to be a good daughter. We always expected you to help your brother, and now you're just going to leave us all behind." I felt a lump forming in my throat. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This was about years of resentment building up, years of feeling overlooked and dismissed. It was about them expecting me to be the backup plan when they couldn't be bothered to give me the same opportunities they'd given Aaron. "I'm not leaving anyone behind," I said, my voice soft but firm. "But I'm not going to let you treat me like I'm your fallback anymore. I'm not your safety net. I'm my own person, and I've earned everything I've got, just like I'll earn everything I get in the future." The room went silent. My mom and dad exchanged looks, and Aaron just sat there, fuming. I could feel the weight of their disappointment on me, but I didn't care. Not anymore. "Well," my dad finally said, breaking the silence, "if that's how you feel, then I guess we'll have to figure out how to handle this on our own." I didn't respond. I just stood up from the table. "Yeah, you will." I didn't stick around for any more conversation. I grabbed my coat and walked out, leaving behind the family that had always expected me to bend to their will. The days that followed were tense. My mom tried calling a few times, but I didn't answer. I wasn't ready to hear their excuses. Aaron texted me a couple of times too, saying I was being selfish, that I was ruining the family. But I wasn't going to fall for it. I had made my choice, and I wasn't backing down. But here's where it gets interesting. A week later, my mom called me again. This time, her tone was different. It wasn't angry or demanding. It was almost apologetic. "Emily," she said, "I think we need to talk." I was hesitant, but something told me this was a turning point. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop. That's where everything took a surprising turn. When I sat down, she didn't start with an apology, not directly. Instead, she just looked at me with this tired expression, like she'd been carrying something heavy for a long, long time. "I was wrong, Emily," she said quietly. "You've always had to figure things out on your own, and I didn't realize how much I was contributing to that. I'm sorry." I was taken aback. Was she actually apologizing? I didn't know how to react. "And Aaron," she continued, her voice cracking slightly, "is not your responsibility. I shouldn't have put that on you. I can see now that you've worked harder than anyone to get where you are. And I'm proud of you." For the first time, I saw my mom not as someone trying to control me, but as someone finally admitting her mistakes. But there was still more to the story. I realized I wasn't done yet. I hadn't fully settled the score. There was one final piece of the puzzle I was about to turn over. I listened to her for a while, my mind swirling. It was clear she was in a vulnerable place, probably realizing how much she had relied on me to pick up the slack when things with Aaron went south. But there was something else beneath her apology, something I couldn't quite place. I didn't trust it yet. "I appreciate the apology, Mom," I said carefully. "But I don't think one conversation is going to undo everything. You can't just expect me to jump back into this role again. I'm not the backup plan anymore." She nodded, looking defeated. I know. I can't change everything that's happened, but I can try to do better. You deserve that." I wasn't sure if I believed her. This was the same woman who'd pushed me to the sidelines for years, the same one who'd told me to figure it out when it came to my college fund, then handed everything to him. Could I really trust her now? Just as I was about to respond, I saw a figure walking toward our table. It was Aaron, looking unusually tense. My heart sank a little. "Emily, we need to talk," he said bluntly, glancing at our coffee cups before sitting down across from me. He wore that familiar defensive expression, like he was gearing up for a fight. "I don't want to talk to you, Aaron," I replied sharply, my frustration building. "You made your choice and I made mine. I'm not your financial safety net. I've told you that." Aaron shifted in his seat, irritated but trying to stay calm. "I get it. You think I'm some spoiled kid who's never had to work for anything. But that's not what this is about. I need help, Emily. I don't have anyone else to turn to." I could feel the anger rise again. There was the familiar tone. The same old excuse. "You've always had someone to turn to, Aaron. You just didn't want to do the work. You wanted everything handed to you, and I'm done enabling you." "You don't get it, Aaron said, his voice rising now. "I made mistakes, okay? I've messed up. But I can't do this on my own anymore. You've always been there for me in the past, and now you're just leaving me hanging." I stared at him for a long moment, trying to keep my composure. The urge to snap, to finally tell him how much I resented him, how much I resented everything about the way he'd been treated differently his whole life, was overwhelming. But I forced myself to stay calm. "You want me to help you, Aaron? Fine. But not like this. Not just because you expect it. You have to show me you're ready to take responsibility for your own life. I'm not bailing you out anymore." I could see the frustration in his eyes, but he didn't argue. Instead, he sat back, looking defeated. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do now." I had to stop myself from saying something cruel. This was the moment where things could either change or stay the same, and it wasn't up to me to decide for him. He had to make the choice himself. My mom, who'd been quiet, spoke up then. "Emily's right, Aaron. I'm sorry, but we've been enabling you for too long. I'm not going to keep making excuses for you. You've got to make your own way." Aaron's face turned red, and for a second, I thought he might shout. But then, to my surprise, he just sighed deeply. "Fine. I'll figure it out then." I was taken aback. It wasn't the angry, defensive response I'd expected. It was almost like he was admitting defeat, but also acknowledging that he might need to change. I wasn't sure if this was the beginning of some breakthrough or just another empty promise. There was a long silence after that. My mom shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were all sitting at a crossroads. Things were changing, but I wasn't ready to trust it yet. "All right," I said finally, standing up. "I'm going to go. I have things to do." My mom looked like she wanted to say more, but I didn't stick around. I needed space. I needed time to think. As I walked out of the coffee shop, I felt a strange mix of relief and tension. It was like we had taken a small step toward healing, but the road was still long. I didn't know if Aaron was truly ready to change, and I didn't know if my parents could truly understand the damage they had done. But something had shifted today, and that was all I could focus on for now. The real test, I knew, was yet to come. Over the next few days, I tried to focus on my own life, my work, my plans, everything that had been pushed to the background for so long. But there was this gnawing feeling in the back of my mind that wouldn't let go. It was the uncertainty about what would come next, especially with Aaron and my parents. I wanted to believe things could change, but I'd spent so many years expecting something that never came that I wasn't sure I could trust them again. Aaron didn't reach out immediately, which was a bit surprising. Usually, if he wanted something, he'd be calling or texting, trying to worm his way back into my good graces. But this time, nothing. It made me feel like maybe, just maybe, he was finally understanding that the world didn't revolve around him. But then, about 4 days later, I received a message from him. The text was brief but to the point. "We need to talk. Can you meet me at the house?" I didn't even hesitate before replying, "Sure. I'll be there in an hour." When I got to the house, it felt different. Not in a good way, but in that oppressive, heavy way that tells you something bad is about to happen. I walked in through the front door and found Aaron sitting on the couch, looking like he hadn't slept in days. He was wearing his old hoodie, the one I used to borrow when I was younger. "Hey," I said, not sure what to expect. My tone was flat, even though there was a whirlwind of emotions inside. "What's going on?" Aaron didn't look up right away. He was holding his phone, his fingers tapping nervously on the screen. I stood there for a moment, waiting for him to speak, but he remained silent. "Look, I don't have all day," I said, more impatient than I meant to be. "You asked me to come, so let's get to it." Finally, Aaron looked up at me, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he didn't look angry or entitled. He looked lost. "I need help, he said quietly. "More than I ever have before." I crossed my arms, bracing myself. "I know you need help, Aaron, but I've already told you that I'm not here to fix things for you. Not anymore." His eyes widened slightly and he leaned forward. "It's not like that, okay? It's not just about money. It's about everything. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I've messed up so many times and I'm scared. I don't know how to fix it." I could hear the sincerity in his voice, but I didn't know if I could believe it. He had said similar things before, only to go back to his old ways once things got hard. It felt like a repeat of every conversation we'd ever had. "So what do you want from me, Aaron?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "You want me to give you money again, bail you out? Because that's not happening. I'm not that person anymore." He shook his head quickly, almost desperately. "No, it's not about money. I just feel like I've been given nothing but second chances, and I keep messing up. I need advice. I need direction. I need someone who actually believes in me for once." I could feel the frustration bubbling up again. This was it. The same cycle. I could hear the excuses wrapped up in his plea for help. He wanted a quick fix, something to make the pain go away without putting in the work. And yet, there was a small part of me, buried deep down, that wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that he was finally ready to change. "I'm sorry, Aaron," I said, my voice softer now. "But I've been trying to help you for years. Every time I step in, it feels like I'm enabling you. I can't do that anymore." Aaron's face crumpled, and he slammed his fist against the couch. "This is what I mean, Emily. Every time I try to get my life together, everyone just tells me I'm doing it wrong. No one's ever given me the chance to actually fix myself." I could see the anger building in him, but it wasn't the same self-righteous anger I was used to. This was something deeper, something raw. Still, I couldn't let him off the hook just because he was upset. "You've had plenty of chances, Aaron. It's not about what anyone else is doing to you. It's about what you're doing to yourself. You can't keep blaming everyone else for your mistakes." He looked away, his face clouded with shame. I hated how much it hurt to see him like this, but it wasn't enough for me to forget what he had done, or what my parents had done. This was his moment to prove that he could take responsibility, and I wasn't about to swoop in and rescue him. "I'm not going to fix things for you, Aaron," I repeated firmly, my tone final. "You have to do that. And I'm not going to watch it happen again if you're not serious about changing. The silence that followed was thick, and I could feel the weight of it between us. I had set my boundaries. I had told him the truth. Now it was his turn to step up. But just as I was about to leave, Aaron spoke again, his voice quieter this time, almost as if he were speaking to himself. You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I think I'm really starting to get what you meant. Maybe I've been too blind to see it before. I didn't know if I believed him, but I nodded. Good. Now go prove it. I walked out of the house without looking back, trying to convince myself that I'd done the right thing. But as I drove home, I couldn't help but wonder, had I finally pushed him too far, or was this the turning point for Aaron? The days that followed were a strange mixture of relief and unease. It felt like I had finally drawn a line in the sand, but that line was still precarious, like it could be washed away by the tide at any moment. I kept telling myself I had done the right thing, that I couldn't keep bending over backward for people who had shown me time and time again that my efforts didn't matter unless it benefited them. But as much as I tried to convince myself that I was at peace, I still found myself checking my phone every few hours, waiting for a text from Aaron or my mom. A part of me kept hoping that maybe this time would be different. Maybe they'd finally understood. Then one night, I got a text from my mom. It was short and to the point. We need to talk. Your brother is having a hard time. Please come over. I stared at the message for a long time, feeling the familiar knot in my stomach tighten. I knew what this meant. Another round of, poor Aaron, another attempt to guilt me into doing something I didn't want to do. But a part of me still felt that nagging pull, the part that wanted to help, to fix things, to be the good daughter, the good sister. I stared at the text for a few more seconds before typing back, I'm not coming. Not this time. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. There was a finality to it that I hadn't realized I needed until the message was gone. It wasn't long before the phone rang. It was my mom. I debated answering, but I wasn't in the mood for another round of manipulation. I let it ring out. A few minutes later, I received a voicemail. Emily, please. Aaron's really struggling. He's asking for you. I know you're angry, but you're family. Please just come. He's not handling this well. I took a deep breath, my heart aching for Aaron in spite of everything. But I couldn't go back. Not when I had already given so much. Not when they had already taken so much from me. I didn't call back. The next few days were quiet. I went about my life, focusing on my work, my own plans, and my own mental health. There were moments when I thought about Aaron and my mom, wondering if I had made the right choice by not giving in. But then I remembered everything they had put me through. I wasn't just some safety net they could fall back on when things got tough. I wasn't going to be their doormat anymore. It was late one evening when I finally saw Aaron's name pop up on my phone. He was calling again. But I wasn't sure if I was ready to talk to him yet. The last few conversations had left me feeling exhausted and drained, as if I had been giving and giving without ever getting anything in return. I let it ring out. The next morning, another text from Aaron, I know I messed up. I know you're upset and I get it. But I need you. Please don't turn your back on me now. My thumb hovered over the reply button, the weight of the decision pressing down on me. It would have been easy to give in, to slip back into that old habit of trying to fix everything for him. But I knew better now. I typed a simple response, I'm sorry, Aaron, but I've done everything I can. You need to figure this out on your own. There was no reply for a while, and I felt a strange sense of finality. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, but I was beginning to realize it was also the best thing I could do for myself. A few days later, I got a call from my mom. I hesitated, but eventually I answered. Emily, please. You have to understand, she began, her voice frantic. He's still struggling and I don't know what to do. I can't help him anymore. You're the only one who can fix this. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Mom, I've already told you I can't fix him. I can't keep putting myself on the line for someone who doesn't even try to help themselves. But he's your brother. Don't you care? Don't you love him? Her voice wavered with emotion. I do love him, Mom, I replied, trying to keep my tone steady. But that doesn't mean I have to sacrifice myself every time he messes up. I've tried to help, but he needs to take responsibility for his own life. I can't keep being his crutch. There was silence on the other end for a long moment, and I knew she was struggling to accept what I was saying. Finally, she spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. I just don't want to lose you too. You haven't lost me, Mom, I said, my voice softer now. But I need you to understand that I'm not going to let you use me as a fallback anymore. I can't keep doing this for Aaron, and I can't keep doing this for you. There was another long pause, and then she sighed deeply. I guess I'll have to find another way. I didn't respond right away. I wasn't sure what else to say. I had done what I could, and I was finally starting to feel the weight of everything I had been carrying for so long begin to lift. It wasn't that I didn't love my family. It was that I loved myself more. I was tired of playing the role of the savior, the fixer, the one who always stepped in when things went wrong. I had spent too many years putting everyone else's needs before my own, and I wasn't going to do that anymore. In the end, I didn't forgive them, not in the way they wanted me to. What I did instead was give myself the space I needed to heal and to move forward with my life on my own terms. My family might never understand that, but I was done trying to make them. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally in control of my own story.